Hello and welcome to the Queber channel. I am Jason, your host. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. People think, and I've even had the police tell me this at the same time, that why do you tell people so much information about your life? Why do you put everything out there? I don't have a choice. I really don't have a choice. In 2019, it's very hard to explain just how bad I was, how close I was to either being permanently sectioned into a psychiatric ward or an end of life event. My own GP was actually admitted later that he was just waiting for a call from the police to tell them that I had passed away. This wasn't a cry for help. This was I was experiencing horror and terror. I was living through my wife's death over and over. I had lost my entire infrastructure when Paola passed away. For almost 20 years, as an autistic, as someone with bipolar and ADHD, I had latched on everything onto my wife. She was my anchor, she was my connection. I could function, I could do things only because she existed. And the moment she was gone, all my scaffolding, all my structure, everything that kept me upright, everything that allowed me to leave the house, everything that allowed me to do anything. And remember, I never left the house alone when I was with Paola. In fact, for almost 6 months after Paola died, 6 months, imagine that, 6 months, when I opened my front door, my hand would go in front of me to where I would be holding the wheelchair. And the wheelchair wasn't there anymore. And the person in the wheelchair wasn't there anymore. And my brain started to disassociate from reality. Now, when I do these vlogs, when I explain to you that in the future I'm going to have some money to spend on disability equipment, and yes, everything in this fucking room is a disability aid. My VR, my arcade machine, my consoles over there, my Steam Deck, my computers, everything is to help my brain stay in this reality. Because without all of this, I will just go pretty much catatonic. I will just end up spending 10, 12 hours a day just sitting on the floor, the dog licking my face, trying to focus me, trying to wake me up. And that will be my life. And I will very soon end up in a psych ward. When I met the mental health care professional which actually did the most help for me in 2019, I was just going through the motions. The fuckers kept wanting me to see these people, to run these tests, to try and make me a functioning member of fucking society. I was driven to my places by a care worker. It was the only way I could get to my appointments with the mental health care professional, because the council used to do this thing where they provided a volunteer who would take you places and that you needed to go. And that's the only way I made it to the place. I was so angry. Why couldn't people just let me die? Remember when I was told that my cancer was in remission, I was actually sad. That's supposed to be the point in your life when you say, "Oh my God, I haven't been given a new chance at life." No, because cancer had been a way out. If I had died from cancer, then I wouldn't, or if the cancer hadn't gone in remission and I had had complications with the chemo and all that kind of thing, then. So yeah, that's the kind of that's the kind of fucked up position my head was in 2019, that I was actually sad when my oncologist told me that the cancer was in remission. So when this guy got to see me almost 6 months after everybody else had tried, I'd been through like 5 different healthcare professionals. They tried all the normal different steps, all the things to try and bring me back to reality. And I was so angry with him. And I remember the event, and it was the turning point of my life. Because at this point in time, I had a plan for ending my life. I had a plan for leaving this place, for having an end of life event, and it was going to be not messy. It was going to make it so the only people who would find me would be trained professionals. I had worked it all out. It wasn't a call for help. I went on all the forums and I said goodbye. I went on Reddit and said goodbye to everyone. All the places me and Paola had been, all the places Paola had loved, I went and thanked them for making her smile. And that doctor was the first one, and I was so annoyed with him. I understand now that his workload was massive, but he was reading through my medical file. He had a fucking big file, and I'm sitting in his office, in his actual room, and I am getting angrier and angrier and angrier because why couldn't he fucking look at these notes before I go here? Why am I here? Why am I sitting in this fucking chair while he reads my notes? Couldn't he have done this before he called me in? And when he put it down, he just said to me, "How are you still alive?" Actually, he said, "How the fuck are you still alive?" And that caused all my anger, all my frustration, all my loop that was going on in my head just to stutter, because this was not how the script goes. This is not what they ask. This is not the scripted. Have you tried to self-harm? Are you a danger to all this stuff that they're scripted to tell you? And I'm like, and before I could even register that, he said, because I've looked after and dealt with people who have got half what you're dealing with, and sadly we haven't been able to save them. So how the fuck are you still alive? And that's the moment when things changed, when he says, okay, no more of the grief counselling, it's not working. No more of the medication, it's causing you bad side effects. No more of going to fucking group counselling and all these other things and trying to get you go to fucking yeah, they tried to get me to go to local pubs and play solitaire or play darts and that with people and interact with people in a positive oh god way. He says, what's keeping you going? What's keeping you alive? And if we drilled down to technology had always been there since I was 6-7 years old with my first handheld Invader Galaxians handheld. I still have one somewhere in the house. I can't remember where I put it at the moment. But when I held that device, when I pressed those buttons, my mind quieted down. And we started to go through how technology, how everything about computers and phones and electrical equipment seemed to make sense to my brain. He knew straight away I was fucking autistic, but he couldn't diagnose me as autism because to be diagnosed, you have to have a specialist, you have to have a special interviews, and you have to have assessment over time, and that took almost 2.5 to 3 years to come through fully. But he knew straight away. He also diagnosed me pretty much on the fucking spot with bipolar type 2. He says you're one of the clearest cases of bipolar type 2 I've ever seen. And he explains so much to me that the side of bipolar where I've been depressed for my entire life. And I've just had spikes into the hyper areas and then deep down into mania. And that same day, I'm fucking so glad he did, because otherwise it would have taken months and months and months and months, and he probably did something that was not allowed, but fuck it. His friend in the same building was an ADHD adult specialist. And he says, you've got ADHD as well. I was saying, well, says, come with me. Took me into the room with this guy. It was the end of the day, and he said to him, can you just do a quick test on this guy and check him out to see whether or not you think? And he was like, but, and he says, and of course this guy said to me, okay, so what can you tell me about your history? Can your mum come in? Can you contact your mum? Is she waiting for you in the car park or anything? Told my mum was in early onset dementia. And do you have anybody who can verify or vouch for you as a child or anything? Because we need this part of the data to be able to give a proper diagnosis. And I think the only reason he gave me the form was because his friend had basically said, check this. And so he gave me the form and I filled it in right there and then. He says, no, this isn't 100% thingy because we don't have backup, we don't have the history of your school and all that. We have a few report cards, but we don't have anything like a person to thingy. So, and it's almost impossible to do this with proper easy diagnosis. So I filled in the entire thing, passed it back to him. He opened it up, he went through it, and he just looked at me and says, you've got ADHD. Once again, a completely clear cut of yeah. Autistic, bipolar, ADHD. Unfortunately, we never got to test for OCD, which we think was also a thing. But mental health care professionals have specialist thingies, and they can't diagnose you with anything. You have to go through a certain person and a certain person's specialties. I know it might look like I'm one of the most lucky person in the world. I get to sit in this room with all this technology and that. I have to set schedules to force myself to game. I don't turn on my computer and think, hey, what should I game on today? Because if I do that, I will just look at my game list and look at my game list and look at my game list and look at my game list, and then nothing will happen for 4, 5, 6 hours. I have to force myself to play a game, to interact with it, to connect with it. And when I'm some games downloaded on Steam, I don't have a choice about what I put out there from my head to all of you. Whatever's in my head goes from here to there. I know rationally that telling people all this stuff about me, letting them into my world so deeply, not editing, not being OPSEC, not keeping things secret and keeping my head down, causes me to be a target. And especially in the UK, with the way the tide is turning and the way disability people are being persecuted. For God's sake, someone on Twitter has come up with a fucking app and program so people can hunt down people who have a mobility car. What they're going to do to those people, I don't know, but that's what's happening. They are starting to. They put an app together so they can check stuff, so they can see if it's a mobility car. Because they think nobody should have these cars and that these cars, it's an abuse and that, and these are scroungers and all this kind of bullshit. So the tide is turning against disabled people, but I can't stop. The police said to me, a detective inspector said to me, she said, you probably need to stop doing your vlogs and that. You're attracting attention from the wrong kind of people. I said, oh, I wish I could. Every day when I've got something big in my head, I have to rip it out and put it on here. Because if I don't, I won't function for the rest of the day. Not only is it a ritual of mine, it actually connects me to the world outside. It doesn't matter to me if one person watches my video or no one watches it, and then someone might watch it in a year's time. I'm still connected to the external world. I'm connected to the universe at large. And that makes a fucking difference. For some reason, it's like having a therapy session. Not as good as an actual therapist, but it helps every single day. If I want to get up, if I want to go and do stuff, I have to do this. I haven't missed one day since 2019. The one day that a video didn't upload was because of YouTube. I set it to upload, it was going up, everything was set up and everything was fine. And then for some reason I didn't check back and it never actually went from draft to actual thing. So that's the only time, one day since 2019, that a vlog hasn't gone up here. You can see up in that corner, that monitor right there. That is turned off at the moment because that shows all my security cameras around my house that keep me safe. That is why when I'm sitting over there, you will see me look up in that direction now and then when I hear a noise. It allows my brain to settle. It allows my anxiety to not go thingy, because I have had people dox me. I have had people come to my fucking house. My life would be so fucking much simpler if this was just me doing this. My life would be so much better without doing this. Believe me, if it wasn't part of my therapy. Because most of my videos get 20, 30 views. It will never be a career. It is never meant to be a career. I do this because it's part of my treatment. It's like when I stream. When I'm not too stressed, and I hope to start streaming again after we've got all the diagnosis of diabetes and that all out of the way. Streaming makes it easy for me to game. Usually I'm either on Discord and I try to stream games, or on here, because gaming is a therapy for me, keeps me going. And it's almost impossible for me to play a game without being connected to something to actually connect me to the world. So instead of when I Twitch stream and that, I will never 2-3 people follow my stuff. That's all that I need. Even when no one watches, I'm still in the moment. I'm still connected to someone. So yeah, this is how all of this stuff you see, I would give up in a second if I could just walk out my front door and down the street to the local shop. You have no fucking idea how lucky you are to be able to do that. And this is the tragedy of a lot of people who are disabled. People don't understand just how lucky they are to be able to walk out the front door without massive preparation. I mean, do you really think I go about on my mobility scooter when I'm outside the house for fun? I wish I could just leave my house and go down the street and visit a friend. I wish I could go to the local park and sit down there on a bench. I wish I could go to the cinema. I'd love to leave my house one day and say, oh, I know, I'll treat myself. I want to go to a cinema. I want to go and watch a film in the cinema. When you see me on here, I'm at my best. I'm connected to you via this, and it's focused me. I hope you're all having a good day. And I want you to remember something, that no matter how bad I am, there is people hundreds of thousand times worse than me out there whose voice are unheard. I hope you're all having a good day, so bye bye for now.